It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Hey, I want to welcome back to the program. We've got Senator Bryan King with us once again from District 5. Bryan, it's always great to have you on, sir.
Hey, good to be on, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Wanted to have you on because I wanted you to be able to set the record straight, like you do many times. But, I mean, the fact that you're not going to be at the Capitol next session is it really means, I believe, that the people are going to be losing a consistent voice of dissent at stating the obvious, not, getting through the spin, but stating the obvious of what really goes on in Little Rock. And, I just want to say thank you, first of all, for doing that for as many years as you've been doing it, because you've exposed a whole lot.
Yeah, well, thanks, Paul. And, I mean, it's been an honor to serve the 12 years, and there's been times, and unfortunately, a lot more, as I look back, a lot more of the dissension, things that went off rails, things that went off from what we think of as conservative, in reality happened when Republicans took over in 2013. And you had expanded Medicaid, exploding Medicaid budgets. And so, it's been eye-opening, and sometimes things happen, and right now it's like, at the time we've talked about it for years, so been on your show for years. I'm glad you still have the old podcast of our interviews where you sit there and say, hey, something's going on down there. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it before we came on the show about, it's like right now it's like it's kind of this strange world of, you have these fake people that were saying they fought corruption and did all this stuff like that, and they didn't. In fact, maybe we'll talk about somebody who actually did the opposite, and then now says something different. And then you have the ones that are part of the machine that allow this stuff to happen, stopped anything from happening, and now they're the ones that's going to take over and do this. And you have the ones up there that don't have the courage to say anything or challenge anything or do anything, no matter what still comes out. And so, it's just one of those times where, you just sit and look and think, why is this going on, and wondering what the heck's going on.
To set the record straight, you tried to many times pass a Medicaid disclosure bill.
4 times.
4 times. Yeah. Either through the rules process of the Arkansas Legislative Council or actual legislation. And it was eventually rejected. Some, we thought some were going, some got further in the process than others. But I want to highlight, I think it was the first time you tried. Maybe it was the second, but it was in the Arkansas Legislative Council. And you were going to, so that was the second time. You were attempting to essentially bring Medicaid entities in line with other, other professions in terms of having to disclose, what they do if they're taking money as a result of being in public office. And for some reason, our health care, which is what we spend the most money on, was exempt from this. And so you're in Arkansas Legislative Council, and you're going through this, and you were just wanting the members of the Arkansas Legislative Council to have to disclose. And you got an enormous amount of pushback. And I just want to say that, I think, was the first time that we had clear evidence that people were hiding something. And you were right over the target, because their reaction, they didn't want a voice vote when they voted it down. They made sure they didn't get a voice vote. And matter of fact, specifically, at the time, State Representative Nate Bell, in that meeting, Arkansas Legislative Council, because I remember reporting on it, he gave you the most grief, essentially ceding that what you were trying to do was legal, but said it would violate not the Constitution, but the spirit of the Constitution. I've got the transcript actually right in front of me. It says right here, Representative Bell, there's no question that we legally can pass rules that are extra-constitutional, Senator King. My question is, are you in fact attempting to violate the spirit of the Constitution by proposing an ex post facto rule, meaning you were trying to actually make this retroactive, which would have meant we now know for sure it would have meant that legislators who were on the take would have had to disclose this to the public. What's your reaction to this? Where we are now versus where you were at the end of that table then.
Yeah, and you're right. You're exactly right. It's the first time we have evidence of the cover-up and the obstruction down there. And Nate Bell just, walked in the meeting and, boy, he sure tweets something different now. I mean, that's Nate Bell. And, you can put the transcript out in black and white and clearly see he was the main opposition in that trying to get something done, which, if it had got done, would have exposed everything out there. I mean, and if they would have followed the rules, and understand the Legislative Council, we're able to do rules outside of the law. I can't make a law to retroactively go back and make, Paul Harrell, do something
right.
tax-wise or something like that. And so that's a good thing, but yet...
But you can make the rule. You can set the rules of the committee to do that.
Yeah, you can set a rule to go back, and that's where I went back because we saw exploding Medicaid budget. You saw, I don't know how much cronyism going on with votes down there. You had at least, exposure out there of these legislators get personal checks, huge amounts. I mean, David Norsworthy giving Jake Files $80,000, to which we today still have no answer on. Bruce Hawkins giving a supposed loan of $30,000. You're already up to $110,000. You add in the money to Faith and Freedom, to Gilbert Baker that's been exposed, to Michael Lamoureux that was exposed. You're getting up close to, $300,000-$400,000. It's just a few legislators in a few instances. And those things should have been exposed. And you had Nate Bell, obviously, I don't know how he can tweet his way out of this thing, but I'm sure he will, of, how do you oppose something like this that would actually, we would have found out Jeremy Hutchison was getting $500,000.
That's exactly right.
One legislator, one entity, $500,000, but he's innocent. So.
No, you're exactly right. I think it's also an educational experience, just as to how the lengths people will go to hide the truth from the public. This was. Not only do you have, we now know that Jeremy Hutchison was getting $500,000 from Preferred Family Healthcare. Not only do we now know that Preferred Family Healthcare was in the process of bribing multiple legislators, current, former legislators. Not only do we have people in jail now because of it, but if you look back to this moment, if you look back to what you were attempting to do, you knew what was really going on. Because the only reason, Bryan, that you would have run a rule change like this is because we all at least suspected that when you have a $2 billion program, influx of cash into the state, and you did it under Republicans who said they would never do it, the only way to get those Republicans to change their positions was to pay them off. And that is a sad, it's assuming worse motives, but we now know it is the truth. It is exactly what happened since 2013. Bryan, are you there? Bryan, you broke up. Go ahead. Start over.
Okay. I said you saw exploding Medicaid budgets, not just in the private option, Obamacare, whatever they call it now, but you saw it in other areas too. Long-term care, you saw it in behavioral health, you saw every facet of everything. And once again, it started under Republican. You had Republican supposed, Duncan Baird in chair of joint budget. You've had Lane Jean twice in chair of joint budget, and nothing but exploding Medicaid budgets. And then you had these guys down here. You saw the article in the Democrat Gazette this last time. You could see things of how, they're eventually just, using their things to get money, and there's nobody trying to say anything or stop anything. And when you're the only one down there, well, you get the thing of, well, you're mean and you're a bully and you're, crazy and everything like that. And, it's just, that's what they do. And that's what politics is about, especially with what they're doing down there. And even still today, it's about deception. They'll talk about less spending, that they're saving money by spending less than what they did before. It's about deception. And, unfortunately, there's some people in the media down there that do stuff, and they come out with a few things, but, you look at the personal money ties of this whole thing and how it's not being exposed, and the same people that were allowing it to happen, blocking everything, Jim Hendren, are so all of a sudden in charge of fixing it going forward.
Wow. Yeah, that's exactly, that does put it's kind of a doom and gloom perspective, but I mean, I can't tell you that you're wrong, Senator King. I mean, because, you've been proven right in all of this. And you would think that your story, where you were, where the governor did not support your reelection in the primary, he supported your opponent. You would think that would be a big story, considering you've been the one who has attempted to tell everybody about the corruption that's been going down. All these legislators who are now in jail or maybe on their way to jail, and who knows, maybe there's going to be more charges. You would think that would be a giant story of like the one guy who was constantly trying to tell everybody, and he was dismissed. He was told he was mean. And in reality, mean just means that you were bad for their bottom line. Like you were just bad for business. That's what mean means. And but that I don't know why. Like, for example, the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Like, why haven't they been keeping a record of all the things that you've been saying? And now here it is, and to me, it would be an amazing story. It's a positive story that there was one guy who was the whole time right, the whole time, and he was told he was wrong, but he ended up being right. You were right.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, you just thought, but no, they've been contacted. They're not going to do a story on that. They're going to protect the establishment down there, and that's just the way it is, unfortunately. And we don't have a competing. If we had a Fox News here in Arkansas, whether you want to say about Fox News conservative deals, but just something presenting the other side or trying to do something, things would flip down there in a matter of days. And it's just, 4 times trying to run it, 4 times it fails, 4 different bills trying to find something, and, all you find is excuses. And, they won't hold, every once in a while they'll pop out a story like they did on the loan thing or something like that. But, Roby Brock, how many times did he have? He had Jeremy Hutchinson on probably as many times as any other legislator. Name one episode or anything he questioned him on his involvement in anything. Well rumored. I mean, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of your tax dollars, trying to protect legislative records from the Justice Department, the FBI. No one says nothing. And it is just continual trying to cover it up down there and help do whatever they can to do that. And, like I said, you have Nate Bell tweeting stuff now that he was some white knight down there, when in reality, he didn't do nothing but try and obstruct it. And a lot of these people try to help their buddies do it. Now, they may not have been taking personal money, but because of the way the statute works down there, they're trying to help block everything and help do anything for their buddies. No one's going to report on that.
I want to ask you one more question about tax cuts. And listen, I know you've been down there for 12 years, and I know, Bryan, just from our conversations, that you are somewhat relieved to be able to take a break. I mean, I know the taxpayers and the people are kind of in dismay, but I know you need to rest. I really do, because that environment down there is just terrible. But I just want to know, when it comes to tax cuts and everybody, the things that, people are talking about, in your opinion, you know what the budget is. You are actually a really good budgeter. You have been down there and you've seen how to make surpluses
That's why
and
they
things like
attack
that.
you, because no one counters the truth. I mean, just like I said, when they come out with the lie saying we're saving money, no, that's a lie. Okay, when they come out and say we got this conservative budget that had exploding Medicaid budget, rife with waste, fraud, and abuse and everything like that, no, that's a lie. Okay, that's lies. They're lying.
Well, my question is this: do we have the money? Do we have the money because of the exploding Medicaid budget? Do we have the money for a legitimate tax cut?
Well, you have to look at it like what are basic government needs to be that people have to have out there that government should supply. The big thing we've talked about before is crime and everything. It's horrible. Little Rock's worse. I heard the radio the other day how they're going to take officers in Little Rock, 4 officers, and pay them overtime to go in high crime areas. Which, why? Number one, they're overworked. When you say overtime and officers in a very high stress job, you're overworking them. Okay, just like a lot of the prison guardians do. They're overworking them. I mean, and so you have this mountain problem in crime that is not being taken care of, and those things have to be addressed first. And if you do, that's going to take a substantial amount of money. And then, of course, the farmer in me looks at the economy. It's going pretty good right now, but it doesn't always go good. I mean, you have to prepare for that. And I've come back from the days, and it's totally a crazy idea. When I came in under Governor Huckabee, when they had $1 billion surplus, you had a joint budget process that actually worked. Okay, these people down there today, they don't even know the difference. I mean, you do sound crazy when they don't even know what it means to have $1 billion surplus. Okay, they don't. They're virtually this last year looking at spending every dollar comes in. They're ahead a little bit this year, but that can change in a matter of months or something like that. I mean, we have a very volatile world today that can change, and so you should be budgeting like this last year with the record amounts of money that come in. You should have been having at least a $250 to $300 million surplus. They had less than $30 million. I mean, so that is not conservative budgeting, to be virtually spending every dollar that comes in. And, we have to look at these other areas of, what is it going to take to help solve this crime problem? And, what's the amount of money? And let me go back to this, too, if you want to talk about how it is down there in that world today. Jeremy Hutchison, whatever you want to say about the $500,000, the World Series sweet tickets, the indictment, everything like that, he was the go-to guy for the last 5 years on crime and everything like that. Horrible. We're in horrible shape, terrible, worse than ever. Look at the prison situation. Look at the crime problem. Look at everything. Backlog, turning out bad people that have served multiple convictions who are not serving their time, putting more on law enforcement, putting more on the unsafe in the communities. All that. Okay, it's horrible, terrible. You know what? If he walked in there today and came up with a crime prison reform bill and all that, they'd all vote for it. I mean, that's how crazy it is. Even though he's been the most complete, that is the most frustrating thing of looking at this thing, is seeing somebody like Jeremy Hudson outside of the $500,000 World Series sweet tickets, all this stuff that he has, been named in. His record on the crime part is worse. I mean, it's so bad. People are disappointed in the Razorback season on wins. Jeremy Hutchison wouldn't even have 2 wins this season if you looked at it. And, it just is very frustrating to get to the point, and somebody like him was, looked upon as the main person, even though the stats and statistics and the real thing that's going on out there was so terrible.
Yeah, I'm going to miss and definitely want to keep in touch, Bryan, about the crime situation. But I really appreciate. We're out of time. I appreciate you you coming on, setting the record straight.
And put the transcript out of Nate Bell how he actually was an obstructionist and not somebody trying to fight.
I actually have it right here. I actually have it right here.
Yeah,
so we will do that. So I appreciate it, Bryan King, Senator Bryan King, everybody.